our 6:30 planning board meeting for July 1st, 2021. This will probably be our last Zoom meeting, as we're all going to be in the room together probably on the next one. So at 6:30, let's start with board business. Board member updates. Anybody have anything they want to share with us?
I got sued by your previous actions.
Yeah, I know. You're not even on the board. Imagine that. So you got to be careful what you wish for, Bartlett. I guess maybe Delisa and I can tell you that we're starting up the train station committee again. We're meeting. Cindy's trying to set something up for us sometimes later in July. Anna has a, you don't have to raise your hand. Just tell us something, Annie.
Well, you were talking, so I wanted to wait.
I'll shut up for you. Even shaved for you. How's that?
The CPC met for my first time. We prepared information for a town meeting, so I get to have a learning curve on that particular committee. So more learning to do. And then, Maren, will you be talking about UTIL doing the training?
I hadn't planned on it, but one of us can cover it.
So you can talk about it if you'd like.
Go ahead.
So we have asked UTIL to come back and do the training that was part of the original contract with them, so that they could provide form-based code training to town staff as well as folks from different boards and committees as appropriate. And so obviously with the pandemic and all, we weren't able to get that done, but we are able to continue as planned. And so they will be looking to come sometime in July via Zoom. Is that correct, Maren?
Yeah, that's what we're shooting for, yes.
Okay. Yep. So that's all I have.
And we're still trying to get you on the Affordable Housing Trust, working on that, Anna. So there'll be 3 members from the planning board on it. We're almost there.
Okay. And thank you. I did mention to Maren that unfortunately I will not be at the next July 13th Affordable Housing Trust meeting. I have a work meeting at the same time.
Jeff, did you have something?
Yeah, I attended the Transportation Advisory Committee. It was the last meeting for the summer. It was very interesting. My only contribution was just sort of telling them the various things that are before the planning board that they might have an interest in. Maren was there. And the other thing I should put out there, since this is a public meeting, is we will be looking for a new chairman, and he's given notice that, you know, it's not a permanent thing. And so if there's anyone out there who's interested in joining the committee and possibly, working hard on it, please put yourself forward.
Yeah, Gary's done a great job. He's been on it.
He really has.
Mm-hmm.
Really has. Probably burnt out. I think that would be a great job for Bartlett. He needs something else to do.
Well, Gary isn't. He wants to put his time to some regional bike trail consortium that he is sort of willed into being, and it's not like he's not going to be doing anything. He wants to have more time for that.
Is it my screen, or you guys all look pale to me?
It's your screen.
Must be my screen. That's what it's got to be. It must be my screen. All right. Any public input? Anybody on this early? Probably not.
Yeah, there's a few people are developer and attorney waiting for the homes at Crop Corner discussion when we get there in a few moments.
Okay. We're close. We're close, Maren.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Prior meetings of prior minutes of prior meetings. Anybody have any issues with those of June 2nd? Go ahead. You don't have to raise your hand. Just speak. This is our last informal. I'm going to be really prim and proper when we're all together again. My last shot at informal. I have no shoes on, by the way.
So in item number one, while I very much supported the nomination for Jeff to the planning board vice chair role, I didn't nominate him. That was actually you, Mr. Chair. So I think that language should be amended. And then the other thing I would just ask Maren if she could ask Lucia to please spell checking, review the grammar. There's a handful of items. And then there is an item on page 7 in red font with a question. So I think, that's just something that needs to be addressed. So those are the 3 comments I had.
You want to approve them with those revisions?
Sure.
Motion to approve them?
Motion to approve the minutes with those 3 comments.
Anyone want a second? Jeff, you want to second that?
Yes, I'll second that.
All those in favor? Bartlett?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Delisa?
Yes.
Anna?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Anna, they'll be better because this is summer school now. When we get to September, we'll be right on again, okay? How about Maren's update? Maren's corner. Anything? You got anything to add, Maren?
Okay, so what I posted on the agenda was just some recent information from the 495 Metro West Partnership. First, the 495 Metro West Partnership is a regional consortium of communities from Hopkinton to Littleton and beyond. A lot of us are facing a lot of similar issues, and the partnership does a great job of reaching across everything from water quality to housing to economic development, and talking with the legislators. They really cover a lot of issues. And one thing that they recently published was the Strength in Numbers report that they do annually based on responses from employers in the region and census data and information that's pulled together by Framingham State University. So the first report was just the explanation of what the report is, and then the second 2-page report is information from Littleton. And I found it very interesting that right on the front page of this economic development letter, economic development graphic, that they show housing numbers. And it just highlights that housing, what an issue housing is for the entire region. I'll share the second one just to point. Okay, take me a second just to share. Share. Okay, and the one I found most interesting was the housing cost burden. That again, and this highlights what we have known for a while, is that among renters, Littleton rental households, the households are cost burdened, which means that they spend over 30% of their income on housing. It's over 50%. Okay, now I'm drawing a blank on which number that is, but spend an inordinate amount of their income on housing.
Yeah, that was a really good graphic. I also found it fascinating how many workers are coming into Littleton, over 7,000 from other places, including Lowell and Nashua and Boston. So it goes to the story that we've been telling about folks that are coming into Littleton from other places to work here. So.
Yeah, I know. I've heard some describe us as a bedroom community, but that's not true given the number of jobs that we do host in town. So anyway, so that was the information that I wanted to share today. Thanks for your time on it.
I was interested in there's 179 vacant housing units. It just surprised me.
Yeah, I didn't dig into where that particular data set was from.
I was going to
That
comment as well.
surprised me too.
The first document really shows the strength of the corridor. So if that particular one can be shown to any prospective businesses for the Common or 550 King Street, I think, again, I'm sure they do their own homework, but it's good to have that as well.
Mhm. Yeah, hoping to share it somehow with the Economic Development Committee.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Great. Anything else? Anyone else have anything else to add? Our next meeting is the August, what?
So we have one penciled in for Thursday, July 29th. So I'm away the first 2 weeks of August. Question for the board is, would you be interested in moving that the day prior to Wednesday, July 28th? So I'm being selfish on that request. I've got a 6 a.m. flight on Friday morning.
Do we have room, since this is going to be our first live meeting, do we have a room for it?
I'll have to check on that tomorrow, but I'm hoping either 103 or the fire station.
I would need to be a little late because I have a work meeting that starts at 5:30 and sometimes it goes to like 6:45.
Okay. I have no problem with either date. I bug out early morning, hit to Montana. We can do it that Wednesday. I'm good. Bartlett, are you okay if we do it on Wednesday instead of Thursday?
Yeah, I'm okay with that day.
Elisa?
Okay.
Or are you going to be off in Colorado somewhere?
You're muted.
What day is it again?
Wednesday, July 28th.
No, I'll actually be here.
And Jeff, what about you?
I think so. I'm out the week before, but I think I'm back for that date.
Okay, so I'll request room 103. If that changes, I'll have to post it otherwise, but that's
Can you do us a favor and remind us? Because
absolutely.
Okay, so July 28th,
Wednesday.
Wednesday at 6:30. All right, so we're
Well,
moving.
do you want to push it back to 7 or to accommodate Anna's schedule, or? do you
It
want-
can just be 6:45 even, if that would be helpful.
We won't schedule anything till 6:45. Okay, we can go through, we can do board business and stuff like that at 6:30.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, let's leave it that way. Don't worry, we can fill till you get here. Too bad too, I got new cigars too, but that's all right. I'm willing to sacrifice for the good of the board. Okay, great. We're right on time. Well, yeah, we're on time. 6:45, no, we want to do the bond and format and lot release for homes.
Mhm.
Connor, are we all set with this? Did everybody agree to how we're doing this?
The request from the developer is to have the form of the bond that was posted to the website. So it's a bond type that the town hasn't used in my history here. But town council reminds us that it is up to the developer what form of bond that they're looking for. Lou Levine is here representing the developer. Just
Okay.
do you want to hear from Lou on this?
Well, before I do, is town council okay with the format of the bond? It is still it's from a bonding company. It names the town of Littleton as insured. It's just a different. It's not like a tri-party like we've been used to getting. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. Sure.
That's right.
If Lou wants to weigh in real quick on it. That's fine with me.
Okay, so.
Wait, are we in agreement with the numbers and everything else?
Yes, the numbers are good.
Okay, so we just a quick overview of the new format, and we can move from there. Lou, are you there?
Just hang on a sec. Oh, there we go. He's on his way in.
Okay.
I believe it was his name that was in the red note that Anna was referring to in the, wasn't it? Or no?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It would just be good to have the
Yeah.
Okay, Luke, you can go ahead. Unmute yourself.
Okay, just very briefly, the last time we were here, when I don't know, it was 2 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, the board said they would accept the bond. There's no issue on the numbers, so I just have to ask Maren and the board, if you find the format acceptable, then there's not much for me to say.
I guess, Lou, we ran it by town council, even though we've never handled it this way. They assured us that we are protected, so
All right,
I guess we're fine with it.
Okay.
Everybody's agreed about the amount, so I guess I'll entertain a motion to, for the bond format, the number what's the number, Maren, by the way?
692,000 and something and
And
change.
we're releasing
$5.
Are we releasing all the lots?
The request is to release all of the lots, yes.
Does the board have any problem or question about this?
I have a side question. And
Okay.
can we just get an update as to where the HOA is in terms of accepting the open space?
I thought we were accepting the open space. It was going to stay in the homeowners association because nobody wants it. Isn't that how it was left?
was my understanding.
Yeah, it's, the conservation doesn't want it. There's nothing ambiguous to it, and I think we're going to leave it as part of the homeowners association.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just wanted to touch base on that. Thank you.
Everyone else is good? So I'll entertain a motion to approve the, $600,005. Is that what it was? And,
692,005.
69205, and really upon issuing of the bond, releasing all the lots on homes at Croft Corner. And we want to make that motion? Don't all
So
jump.
move.
Second?
I'll second it.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Anna?
Yes.
Bartlett?
Aye.
Jeff?
Yes.
Elisa?
Yep.
And I am a yes. All right, there you go, Lou.
Mark, can I just ask you and Maren just the process, so Bruce can proceed? How and when will Bruce be able to proceed with building permits? The timing.
So I'll create the lot release tomorrow and ask the board members to come in and sign it. As soon as I have at least 3 signatures, then I'll let you know and you can get that recorded. Meanwhile, you'll have to work with the building department on the next process for the building permit applications. I haven't seen any requests come through from the permitting software, so I'm not sure the status.
Okay, that's fine, Maren. But as long as you let the building department inspector know that the bond has been accepted, and recording the covenant releases, not, necessarily if we have a bond in addition or in place of.
Lou, it is 4th of July weekend. If you get it to by, say, Monday or Tuesday, we'll all try to get in next week and sign it.
Next week is fine, Mark. Next week would be fine. Anytime next week.
Yeah, tomorrow, just tell them it's ready. We all just come down and sign it in room 103. Shouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
And Lou, you said you'd be able to get us the original of the bond.
I'll work with Bruce to get you the original of the bond. For, no
I
later.
believe that's, I believe
We'll
that's
get-
what the
that's
treasurer
our
needs.
responsibility. Yep, obviously.
Great.
Okay, thank you.
Lou. Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
So Maren, just so you know, I'm out of town all next week, so just, you don't need my signature.
Mhm.
Right?
Okay, sounds good, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Thank you. Thank you, Lou.
Thank you.
All right, 6:45, continue public hearing, modified Aquifer District special permit and site plan review, including fuel storage, hazardous materials, and storage at 30 Taylor Street. We have anyone to speak with this, and has the engineer in green resolved all the outstanding issues from last month's meeting?
Mhm. Okay, so I'll share with you what I know. The developer's engineer was able to provide updated information to Green last week. Both, actually, both Sherry and my guess is that John Field are here to provide input as well. I have not gotten any review comments back from Green on the new information.
Is anybody here? Is John Fields here?
Yeah, Sherry and John.
Okay. Because if you guys remember, this is stormwater management. This is an existing site that's was the old Louis Page property, and most of the drainage went off the roofs of these big buildings, just went down into the ground, and then it was into a little swale or catch basin down there. Now it's been modified and redesigned to try to do a better job with dispersing the water underneath the facility that's there. I guess that's the best way I can put it in synopsis. Does Sherry and John want to pick up on us and let us know where we're at with Green and with the plans?
Hi, John Field. Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. Yes, so after the last meeting and offline meeting with Green and Marin, we went over the concerns that Green had brought, and I revised the plans, and I can quickly detail what the major points of the revisions are. I think the first thing is that the 500-gallon fuel oil storage tank that was outside has been removed from the proposal. The other major points are that the bottom of the infiltration system has now been raised to 4 feet, 4.03 feet above the estimated seasonal high groundwater. That's 2 feet higher than our proposal. So we have a total of that 4-foot offset and then some above the estimated seasonal high groundwater. That eliminates the need for a mounding analysis. Because the chambers are shorter, we had to increase the size and number of the infiltration chambers. So the footprint of the infiltration system is slightly larger. We addressed the peer review comments relative to the isolator system. That is now a much more robust system, and it is not included in the storage calculations. We also provided the sizing calculations for that. We've revised the screening both along Taylor Street by pushing the privacy fence back to at least 3 feet off the property line so that there's room for the vegetative screening. And we've also added a chain link fence with privacy slats at the rear of the property, going from the corner of the large metal building to about 2/3 of the way down along the rear property line, so as to screen from the residences on the opposite side of the Boston and Maine right of way. There were quite a few plan readability revisions. We've also added a couple of details. The one important detail that I did add was for the oil and water separator for the tight tank. And also we took the catch basins and made them offline catch basins so that the flow from adjacent or downstream catch basins is now treated by going through a deep sump catch basin rather than directly through the collection catch basins. And those are the high points. There were, as I said, quite a few of the readability comments that were also addressed.
Okay. So the biggest one was so you're now 2 feet above what Dean's issue was with the water,
Yeah, the bottom of the detention pond, he's raised that 2 feet. So it's more responsive to the concern from Green about the groundwater level at the site.
That's correct.
okay.
Yep. So yeah, we had a really good detailed meeting with John and with Green International. They were able to go through, what the comments and concerns were, and John had agreed to address those, and then has provided the updated plans.
Okay. Does the board have any questions or concerns about this? Again, like I said, it was more.
Well,
Go ahead.
Well, it sounds like an improvement. I'm wondering where did the fuel tank go? How are they going to get along without the fuel?
It's been removed from the project, as I understand from the client.
So it's not necessary. Okay.
Am I on mute?
No,
They're still looking to store fuel only inside in a double-walled containment system. The fuel at the outside bottle has been removed from the project,
Okay. Good.
and the fuel will be at the capacity allowed in the bylaw.
And it's going to be a commercial double wall tank that we see in all the retrofits that we have approved in the past.
Exactly.
Okay.
So regarding the whole stormwater, I know we talked last time about the need for additional test pits being done during the appropriate time frame. So what does that mean for this?
By raising the the bottom of the detention basin by 2 feet, then it's my understanding that the testing within the time frame is not critical.
Okay, and Green International agrees with that as well.
Yeah.
So I had another question regarding let me find it. Just to make sure, when I was reviewing the information again, so the engineer's letter had a wash bay. Is there still going to be a wash bay on this site?
yes, that would be served by the oil and water separator inside the building. By the way, it's inside the building. And then the off wash is collected, it's processed through the oil and grit separator, and then deposited into a 3,000 gallon tight tank that it would be, the tight tank would be maintained on a monthly basis by an appropriate company that services tight tanks.
So the reason I ask is because in the aquifer bylaw, it says that washing stations for vehicles aren't allowed.
I understood that to be a primary use, such as a car wash.
Yeah, this is not a washing station for the vehicles. It's just to hose up what they bring in after the day. It's not to wash vehicles at all. It's ordinary and customary maintenance of the vehicles, which has been allowed in the aquifer on every project we presented.
Mr. Chair, historically, what have you seen on this?
We have seen washing stations. I believe we have one down at Middlesex, the Middlesex buildings over there.
In the aquifer district?
I believe that's aquifer over there as well. It's not that far away from it. It's not historically to wash vehicles. It's to clean equipment, things like that. You're not driving them through a car wash. In other words, you're just cleaning off the dirt and that kind of thing. It's not to actually wash and detail vehicles. It's that you just want to clean your equipment. Is that how you approaching this, Sherry?
That's right, Mark.
Okay.
I think it was, there's one on Russell Street, fellows that do Near the school on Russell Street, I think there's one.
Sudak.
Yeah, Sudak Brothers.
Oh,
Yeah.
just to wash his truck when he's done at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing we're talking about.
Wash off the road grime and stuff like that.
Yep.
Not the
Yep.
detailed-
And then he's got this wash bay and containment system, as John described. And so nothing's going in the aquifer, it's going in the, I don't know the right words, John, the
Going into the tight tank.
pipe tank, yeah.
Is there a floor drain involved in this?
No. I'm sorry, for the wash bay, yes, there is a floor drain that is connected to the, I think it's a burn, oil and water, or oil and grit separator. But no other floor drains are proposed.
We have testing on this property currently, correct?
Correct.
And water department has weighed in there fine with the wells, testing site, the areas where we're currently testing or propose to test in the future.
Correct.
Wells are they're right across the street, actually.
Yeah, I think the water department was prepared to propose a on-site testing if necessary for this.
Okay.
The meetings of the last meeting about this said something about conditioning, monitoring wells to the decision.
That's what I was just asking. There are monitors out there.
And I think we agreed to that already.
Okay.
So just so that so where do we stand on the whole wash bay thing, Mark? I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Again, I'm asking your perspective just from the
Like I said, it's not a commercial. It's not a commercial enterprise. We're not putting a truck washing station or a car wash. It's for their personal use for their vehicles.
Okay.
I think as long as we're sure that it's going in the tight tank, and we'll get the water department to weigh in and make sure that they're okay with what's going to be actually installed out there. Why don't we conditionally approve it, subject to the approval of the water department? Would that make you feel more comfortable?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, that would work. Everybody all right with that?
Yes.
And one more question, if I may. So, Sherry or Mr. Field, if somebody could just confirm what are the actual materials that are going to be stored. You said that the ones on the outside are now gone from the proposal. So just to confirm for the record, what will be stored there?
Sorry, the question is a little confusing. I didn't say outside storage is gone. I said the any fuel outside is gone. And the outside storage would be mostly like staging materials and maybe the incidental equipment like the plow frame of a snow plow off season or something like that, Anna. Inside is going to be up to 500 gallons of heating oil and motor oils, and they will be properly stored in the containment areas as required. And then the materials that the company uses in its business were all submitted to this board with the data sheets. And I pulled it from the safety data sheets are on all of these reports. I pulled it from the filings at your website. So I know that they've been submitted and you have them, and they were all sent to the fire department for review. So all the materials of any kind of nature are in your package or in the website filings already.
Okay.
So they're a construction company, correct? They're going to have equipment, heavy equipment to do road work and site work and things like that, and
Yes.
forms and equipment either outside or undercover, because it is a very big warehousing to exterior excavation and construction, things like that. Not really a lot of chemicals there.
That's correct.
Incidental to what you would normally find in a garage, a construction site. Oil for equipment, oil to heat the building, not you're not gonna find chlorine and all this other stuff.
That's correct.
I'm just trying to paint a picture of what kind of construction site this is gonna be.
That's correct.
Since we were talking about conditions, is this something that that we should do? I thought I remember something from the fire department requiring some kind of fire protection devices to be installed in the building.
The fire department wrote 2 separate letters, and the second letter indicated that they weren't as concerned with that. But I've got no problem if you condition your report on the recommendation of the fire department, because he sent a subsequent letter, and when I questioned him on what the intent of the first one was, and it sort of clarified it better. I don't know if I can pull it out right now, but I know what you're referencing, and I have no problem if the decision's conditioned on the fire department letter, most recent letter.
Okay.
And then one other thing, Anna, once we approve this, the fire department and the water department will come down and do an assessment, make sure there are spill packs there, make sure everything's in, especially the fire department, if there's hazardous materials are in the proper containers and things like that, before they'll give them the certificate of an occupancy for it. That's normally how this works. So why don't we just conditionally approve it, subject to the fire department and water department conditionally approving their permit. That way they get one last look at it once everything's all put together.
Okay.
Right?
Sounds good.
Anybody else have any other questions at board? Anyone on the board? No, I guess, Myron, can you share the whole screen again? All I can see is Sherry with a dog.
Yeah,
Oh,
That's my daughter. I don't know how to get her off my computers.
I thought that was a dog, sorry. Oh, your daughter with a dog. All right, sorry.
in a motorcycle sidecar.
Yeah, it's a small picture, right? That's all I can see now. I can see the town of Weston, that's all. Is it me or is it?
Weston is John.
Yeah, I can't, again, I have the same issues. I can't change the name of my,
I think Myron has to do it.
No, Mark, it's you. I
Well,
can,
because I just see us.
yeah.
right. So if you put your cursor near the top of the screen view, you can change your view of who you're looking at.
Exit, there we go, thank you. All right, so it was me. All right, sorry. I didn't know I could do that. And this is our last meeting. I learned how to do that. Darn. All right, so does the board have any other questions? But we've had this for a while. I would like to see if we are interested in closing this. We can have Myron draw up a boilerplate copy of the conditions of the approval and send it off to the water department and the fire department, get their blessings on everything and move forward unless the board has any other questions about this. Anybody?
None for me.
So the only final thing would be to make sure that all the conditions, not the conditions, excuse me, to condition that the peer review questions have all been answered.
Okay, why don't we do that? Why don't we close the hearing, vote it. Myron will draw up the conditions. She'll make sure Green is, everything's 100% in agreement with Green, and we'll move forward with that. Is that good? Anybody? Now that I can see is all? I'd say that,
So ideally, we could get this in written form and filed before the next meeting. We don't have to wait till the next meeting, right?
you were garbled. I couldn't understand.
Sherry was asking if you take a vote tonight with the conditions as outlined, as soon as Sherry and I agree and Mark and I agree on those conditions, I'd be happy to file that decision with town clerk to start the appeal period rather than waiting for the next planning board meeting. But that's at the direction of the board. It's up to you how you'd like to approach it.
I'm okay with that. Does anyone have a problem with that?
Thank you.
Having heard nothing, okay, so let's, someone want to make a motion to close the hearing?
I'll make a mo-
All right, Delisa did it. All right, Delisa made the motion, so who wants to second it?
Second,
All those in favor of closing the hearing, signify by saying aye. Jeff?
Aye.
Delisa?
Aye.
Bartlett?
I,
Anna?
Yes, thank you.
I'm a yes. Okay, so now entertain a motion to approve the site plan special permit for 30 Taylor Street, including hazardous material storage, site plan review special permit with the conditions that the Aquifer and Water Resource normal conditions we put on, any other conditions that Green is going to deem necessary, or the Water Department or Fire Department. Maren will work out the arrangements with council, and we'll conditionally approve it, subject to everybody agreeing to all of that. Is that too much of a mouthful?
I just have a point of order. Bartlett won't be able to vote on this. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think you're right, because he's missed too many meetings.
Yeah, unless we need to invoke that thing where he goes back and looks at all the hearings, but I don't think they need, what votes do they need?
This is a special permit. It needs 4 out of 4 planning board members. And I say 4 out of 4 because Bartlett was not a member when this application came in, and the applicant chose not to withdraw and reapply. So Bartlett's not.
Okay, just so long as, Sherry's on the call, just so she knows what's going on.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you.
Good point. I didn't even think about that. All right. Well, anybody have any questions or concerns? Otherwise, I'd like to entertain a vote on this. All those in favor of approving the site plan special permit for 30 Taylor Street with the conditions and with the approval of Green and the Fire Department and Police Department, you signify by saying aye. To Lisa?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Anna?
Yes,
And I'm a yes. Would you have voted yes, Bartlett, if we let you?
Maybe.
All right, okay. Well, we got 4 anyway. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so now we're on, I'm good. We're 2 minutes early. Imagine that.
so Bartlett, are you introducing a new category? We have yes, no, and maybe.
Yeah,
Okay,
Determined.
that's your contribution.
that's my contribution.
Okay, so we can get ready for the next A&R, 8 Boxborough Road. I see several engineers are at the meeting, just not sure which one is here for the Boxborough Road. Here we go.
Right.
You might want to put yourself on.
You're going to screen share this with us, Maren, or how do you want to handle this?
Well, I can see.
Sure, I can do it unless David would prefer to.
Yeah,
can do it.
Yeah, go right ahead.
go ahead, let's, you're up.
I am technically challenged here, so give me one moment. And
So
which
see,
one,
that way you can point at whatever you're talking about too.
which one are we going to do first? The 8 Boxborough?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What, do you have New Estate too?
I have New Estate as well.
Are you double dipping? Okay, all right, well, all right.
And I can't figure out how to share, so I'm sorry.
Okay, I will.
We'll have to make him a panelist, I think, Maren. I'll do it.
Well, I believe he is.
No, he isn't.
Oh,
I was just saying allowed to talk.
oh, okay, now I understand.
Right. There you
I'll
go.
take that back. Dave, try again.
All right.
So it should be a share screen at the bottom, and then you pick which screen of yours you're trying to share, and then hit the share button. So it's a 3-step.
I'm trying.
I always have to remind myself that it's a 3-step.
All right.
You just hit me late, by the way. We're at 7:16. I'm good. Come on, hurry up before Bartlett finishes.
I'm gonna bomb. If you guys can do it, go for it. I'm just gonna.
Yeah. Okay. Hopefully that worked.
Works for me. This is just a simple A&R. We're not changing any frontage. We're correcting some areas, and the main purpose for it was, you can see house number 8 where they currently have a hot tub. There's an existing patio. They were attempting to build a deck. The building inspector stepped in and said there's not enough setback, so we're adjusting that lot line, and also in doing so, 1A is having its lot area corrected from the original plan. The horse tuttle plan showed it being at 40,000 and change. It wasn't, it was shy a couple hundred square feet. So now both lots 2A and 1A will have 40,000 square feet.
So it's just so somebody can have a hot tub and a deck, right?
That's one of the resolutions, yep. Make both lots comply with current zoning.
Okay. Board have any questions or concerns with this one?
I went by today and there's already a foundation in on the new lot or on the existing lot. So let's go.
Isn't there a house already there? Are you talking about the new lot or the?
Well, I guess it's not a new lot. It's just an existing lot that is being.
There were 2 separate lots.
Yeah.
Under common ownership. They split them. There was a garage on 1A that's been torn down, and I think they're planning on rebuilding it on 2A.
They've actually already built it. There's a new garage on the other lot.
And then 1A has some future development plans coming.
Okay. All right. Any other questions or concerns? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the swap of land from lot 1 to 1A, and obviously this is a A&R. Want to second that?
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor? Anna,
Yes.
Elisa,
Aye.
Jeff,
Yes.
Violet, you can vote.
Oh, I can. Great. Okay, yes.
Okay, see, Violet voted, and I'm a yes. Okay, good. That wasn't too painful. How about the next one? Is that going to be as easy as this one?
Next one's very similar. I'll wait for the screen change. Again, I'm handicapped when it comes to this, so.
See, if you'd done it next month, you would have had to come in. Do you get more money?
I was hoping to come in, but I can almost smell your cigar from here, so I'll take it. Hopefully it's a good one.
New State Road.
Would I smoke a bad one? Really?
I don't know. It almost looks like a Romeo Juliet or something.
No, I'm not. No, it's not a Cuban or anything. It's a, I believe it's an Rocky Patel.
Oh, right. Okay, that's not bad.
Not
Rocky
bad.
works.
All right.
So I believe this is the A&R for, what did we say?
New estate?
Yeah, for New Estate Road. Did you want to go through and explain what this doing?
Let me see. I don't see it on my screen, but I can walk you through it. Again, House 175 has some renovations planned eventually. And in doing so, they want to clear out some trees. So they're acquiring parcel B from the abutter. And in doing so, they're giving up a small portion of their frontage in front of House 169. Both frontages now still comply with zoning. The areas meet zoning, and all the lot shape factors meet the current zoning.
Okay. Board have any questions or concerns?
No.
I guess not. Having heard nothing, someone wants to make a motion to approve the addition of parcel B to lot A.
A&R for 175 New Estate Road.
A&R for 175. That I was going to say that eventually. A&R for 175 New Estate. Someone want to make a second to that?
Second.
All those in favor? Jeff?
Aye.
Bartlett, I saw you eating some next. Bartlett,
Yes.
Delisa,
Yes.
Anna,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Great.
I thank you very much for your time. Have a good evening.
All right, do we have anyone for the 725 A&R Taylor Street Water Department parcel?
Yes.
We would, yes.
So Matt Costa, and actually Nick Lawler is here as well. And Brian Orr from Northbridge.
So this is the A&R to donate the land, the 58 acres that the Brian Orr from Northbridge and Northbridge Associates deemed to give to the water department for our water quality protection. So this is the A&R to do it. We've had a bit of a rocky road to get to where we are. Even though we have a host community agreement and the 58 acres is in there and Northbridge is trying to donate, there's a small little issue with the percent impervious. Our bylaw says can't be any more than 50% impervious. I had the engineers for Northbridge do a calculation. If they gave us all 58 acres, it actually turns out to be Northbridge's remaining property will be at 54% impervious, so slightly over. I'm just giving you a preface. They'll probably fill you in more. It is my intention, and I'm hoping, I believe it's still there, is to still go with the 58 acres and then figure out a way to either get a variance. I think they can get a variance from us, but we can discuss that in a few minutes. Rather than drop it down to the 56, which would put them at 50%, exactly where they need to be. They do want to give all 58 acres. I believe the water department wants as much land as they can, to protect the wells down on Taylor Street. So I guess I'll turn it over to Matthew or Brian or Nick. But unless you can tell me, have we, Maren, you can tell me, have we come to a resolution of how to do this? Or is it still, you're going to do the A&R and figure it out later?
It'll be a multi-step process. The issue in front of the planning board this evening is the A&R, and that would divide the 58 acres to go to the water department from the Amazon site, the site that Northbridge owned that's leased to Amazon that has the warehouse and the new parking area. Mark outlined the process to keep Northbridge in conformance with the zoning bylaw. This site is aquifer district, so the maximum percent impervious allowed is 30%. So it looks to me, and Brian will correct me if I haven't heard the latest, Brian and Matt will correct me if I haven't heard the latest, is that they would come to the planning board to revise or issue a new special permit to allow maximum percent impervious for their site and a variance, a dimensional variance from the appeals board. And doing both of those would allow them to easily donate the property to the water department and not jeopardize their site to any future zealous zoning enforcement actions that you could think of. If we get all of those in place, then we'll be able to do what the town has been asking all along, is that the property that's important to the water department be donated to the water department under their custody and control.
So just to be clear, to get to 50% impervious, it would mean less land donated, right?
Correct.
So, and Northbridge wants to donate the 58 acres. So they're being penalized for wanting to do the right thing. They want to give the water department, Nick at the water department, or the water department full control, which is the best we could hope for, because who's going to protect the aquifer better than the water department? So we have to figure out how. It didn't come up through us. It came up through obviously lawyers got involved, and just to make sure everybody's comfortable. So I still think, because we're the special permit granting authority, and I know Chris is still looking into it, that we could probably amend the decision and issue the waiver for that. But if we can't, then it would have to go to the ZBA, and the ZBA would have to be able to do it.
Mhm. Yeah, or if the bank is interested in belt and suspenders, then they apply for both.
But the first step is to do the A&R. I think
Yeah.
everybody's in agreement. I know Nick wants it. Brian
Yes,
wants to go forward with the 58, correct, Brian?
yes, and sorry, I don't know if I'm on camera or not, but this is Brian from Northbridge. We want to do, we agreed to this, we want to do this. The lawyers got involved. We're trying to work through the mechanics. So at our cost and expense, whatever we need to do, whether to go to the ZBA, get amendment, we'll work through this. And our goal is to get this, over to the town as quick as possible. And there's just a process to go through. So appreciate the patience. We will do whatever necessary to get the water over, or the land over to the water department. So just wanted to say thank you for working with us. Just it got flagged to legal, and we'll get it resolved, and hopefully in short order as well.
All right, thank you for agreeing to standing up and agreeing to what you agreed to in our original meetings. It's nice that, you could have taken the easy road and said, no, we'll give you 30, we'll give you whatever makes sense. But, it's just nice that you're going to go the extra mile to give us what you had initially agreed to. So.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the right thing to do, and we agreed to do it, and we want to do it. So, we just feel bad that it's tied up on a legal nuance. And so we're working with everybody to get this resolved, and just let us work through the mechanics. Again, we'll just do whatever the town needs to do to get this done. So if it's ZBA at our cost and expense, we'll just get it resolved, and just bear with us as we work through some of the nuances on this.
You don't need to apologize. We want to thank you for going the extra mile. I think the first step is to approve the A&R, and then whatever steps the town and Northbridge have to do together to get this, so that the water department has it free and clear. We'll just go to the next step. Nif, do you have anything to add?
I just want to support both the planning board and Northbridge, Brian, on this project. This isn't just any land at any aquifer protection. This is Beaver Brook. Wickham Ave wells and Beaver Brook wells are off this resource. There's no more important land than what Northbridge has given us. And there's no better individual to hold that, or entity to hold that, than the water department. So we support it. We appreciate it. To get hung up on a nuance like this is unfortunate, but it happens. We would support any special permit needed to give the Northbridge to operate in the constraints that they have offered to operate under. This is a huge win for the town. I support the project very much so.
And just as Brian, just from Northridge again, as much, I'm not going to come to the defense of the lawyers too often, but let's do it the right way so it doesn't get hung up in some things. They did flag it for a reason. So I think, take a little bit more time. Fortunately, all parties here want to see this go through. So I think we're fortunate in that regard. And then we'll do it the cleanest, simplest way possible, but also protect everybody, in the event that something would get tripped in the previous situation, and now it would be a very clean process going through. So when you guys do get the land, it's, it's yours, and nobody can challenge that.
No, that's great. So we'll just do the A&R tonight. So we have to start the ball rolling. We have to start it somewhere. The board have any questions about the A&R? It's 58 acres. It's basically all the land that's left over. It goes from the building that was built, the parking lot that was approved, and it goes all the way to we have conservation land in behind it. We have open space from the Rod and Glen Club, and there's a lot. This connects a lot of other open space as well. And obviously, it's right by Beaver Brook. It's right by the wells. This is a tremendous parcel for the water department to control and make sure that the water quality of Littleton stays as high as it's always been. And I just commend Brian and Northbridge and Larry and his team to keep going and pushing to get this through. And unfortunately, the lawyer issue came up at the 12th hour on Monday, and just all working through it. And unless the board has any questions, it's pretty straightforward. I will be
In support of it, I say we vote on it.
okay. Anyone else have any questions or concerns? Anna, anything?
No, I mean, my only question is a side one, and that is, how do folks access any existing trails that are over there?
There's
This is Matt Costa from Beals Associates. So part of the land that is given and is along Monarch Drive. It's kind of that area that's in that snippet down towards the end. So you can get out to the back of the land out that way. There is some area that is upland. Generally, actually, our proposed property line, that division line, generally follows the wetland line around the site. But we're also working with, we're meeting Corey Godfrey from the water department next week to make sure that he has access to their monitoring wells. But access for anyone else who would want to walk that land, it's mostly wet. I don't know if there's really too much trails out there other than the land that's on one Monarch Drive, but there is frontage that is on Monarch Drive just past our site that they could use to get out there.
Okay. Thank you.
okay. So anyone else? Having heard nothing, I'll entertain a motion to approve the A&R as presented for the 58 acres to be given to the Littleton Water Department.
So moved.
So moving, seconded.
I'll second it.
Violet second. All those signify by saying aye. Jeff?
Aye.
Anna?
Yes.
Nick? No, you can't vote. Delisa?
Yep, yes.
Bartlett?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Thank you, gentlemen. Again, it's a pleasure dealing with you. And we'll get it resolved between the water department, planning board, town council. If we have to go to ZBA, we'll get it figured out.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Brian.
all.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Matthew.
All right.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Yeah, likewise.
Okay, am I still on schedule? I'm just about. Okay, so we have 7:30, continue public hearing, 289 Great Road, Village Common Form-Based Code, sidewalk special permit, site plan review, Northern Bank and Trust. Obviously, Jeff is you gonna have to mute yourself. You're more than welcome to stay and watch. But since you're a direct abutter, you have chosen to acquiesce on this. So, do we have the bank? Somebody from the bank?
Yes, just a moment. Mark Vaughn. And Mark, you can let us know what other team members we think need to be promoted.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Can you hear and see me, or just hear?
We can just hear you.
Okay, I think I need to, what do I need to hit to get the screen on here? I apologize.
Yeah, just a moment. We'll take care of that.
Okay.
Okay. Mark, try that. Mr. Vaughn? Oh, he's muted now.
Okay, here we go.
There we go.
Oh, yeah. Welcome to 2021, right? Yeah. So good evening again, Mr. Chairman and members of the board, and Myron. For the record, attorney Mark Vaughn with Reamer and Bronstein, representing Northern Bank and Trust. Pleased to be before you again in connection with this. Have a few folks that have been, part of the team that are here tonight as well. Sean Malone, our civil engineer, Dan Barton, our architect, and Sean Mahoney, who is with Northern Bank and Trust as well. So you're pleased to be before you again and continue the dialogue with respect to the property at 289 Great Road and the adjacent properties, which are also owned by affiliates of the bank. So just to kind of recap where we had left off before, I know we've been before you a couple of times, meeting in April and then the meeting in June that we had where we re-advertised so the newly constituted board could participate. But Myron, I don't know if you could maybe share the screen or allow Sean Malone to just bring up a couple of plans, just rather than having to look at my face. Maybe looking at a plan might be more beneficial. But you know, if you recall, we had originally come in with the plan for 289 Great Road, which is the corner parcel where the bank is very desirous of building a new branch facility. They're obviously in Littleton today, a few doors down on Great Road, but they're looking at building a new branch that would be consistent with the design and the architectural aspirations of the form-based code. And the original plan, if you recall, had the drive-through exit only that was located on Robinson Road. And that was met with some concern, not only by members of the board, but also by residents on Robinson Road in terms of disrupting what is a dead-end street today and causing any traffic issues. I think, you know, we felt that we could answer that and address it in terms of it being left turn out only. It's just drive-through traffic.
Your heavenly crowd.
But you know, we were asked to reconsider that and look at other options. And if you recall, we had come up with an option B, which Sean, are you able to share your screen or?
Yes. Let me get that up and
all right,
follow along with you here.
Yeah.
Okay, so you should be looking at option B right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I could get a copy of that at your earliest convenience. Thank you.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and again, this option had showed how we could potentially modify things to maybe bring that drive-through exit further away from the residential core of Robinson, but, you know, closer to Great Road, where it would come out more at an angle. And again, as it was in the initial iteration, it would be limited to left turn out only and really focused on drive-through traffic only, as the access drive on Great Road would be, you know, in and out. And that's the access that we would anticipate most people would utilize for bank business other than the drive-through. That as well, I think was met with some concern, which, you know, still a curb cut onto Robinson. And as much as, you know, we feel that we could address issues relative to pedestrian and safety and the school bus and whatnot, it caused us to look further at, I guess, what we are affectionately calling option C, which is this option that would allow us to be able to turn the drive-through so that we're bringing it back into the main site, so there would be no driveway connection whatsoever onto Robinson Road. This, of course, does relate to the kind of the master plan that Northern Bank had originally looked at in terms of the other properties along Great Road and how we might be able to fulfill what we think the town's vision is in terms of you know, a redevelopment plan that is consistent with those design objectives. So and again, these would be signature architectural buildings, significant open space, public gathering spaces, wide sidewalks, other pedestrian enhancements and elements like that. But this would involve using a portion of 25 Robinson Road, which, as you can see to the rear, which presently is not within the Village Common district. So just to, you know, maybe reiterate and emphasize a couple of points that we had made mention of before at your June meeting, we would not be looking to use any portion of 25 Robinson to construct a building or to provide any access onto Robinson. In fact, it's the opposite. The reason to be able to use this is so that we could design something in a manner to not have an exit drive onto Robinson Road. Also, the intention would be to provide a very substantial and robust vegetated buffer and fencing along the Robinson Road perimeter to provide appropriate screening. And in a moment, I'm going to maybe turn it over to Sean to speak to that. But as you can see, while there would be parking and some circulation drives on that parcel, that's really the extent of what we're looking at. I know it's been mentioned before whether we might be able to have less parking. Do we need all that parking and whatnot? And I guess while that's always a possibility, and again, this is a conceptual plan, it hasn't been, refined and made final in any respect. We're also trying to be mindful of not having enough parking and creating a situation where folks would park on Robinson Road if there's not enough parking at the site. I say that because we know that there has been an issue raised relative to commercial parking on Robinson. I understand there's a dentist office on the other side, and that creates a parking demand on occasion on Robinson. So we're trying to err on the other side of it just to make sure that we have more than enough parking on here to be able to accommodate those needs. So, and with respect to the buffering, I'd like to maybe just explain how I'd like to have Sean Malone walk through that. He's looked further at what we feel that we could do to address concerns that were raised relative to making sure that we had appropriate separation and respect for that residential neighborhood. And then I was going to ask Dan Barton, our architect, to show a few slides of what the adjacent buildings on Great Road could potentially look like. There's been a lot of thought and attention that have been paid to, trying to really make these signature buildings that fulfill the town's vision. And I thought it might be helpful for the board to see that. And I guess at the end of the day, or end of the evening, we're hopeful that the board would acknowledge that the concept makes sense and would consider amending the village common district map to incorporate this parcel in order to achieve those objectives. So if I could, Sean, do you want to jump in and maybe talk a little bit about the buffering?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Mark. For the record, Sean Malone from Oak Consulting Group, the civil engineer for the project. And as Mark mentioned, we took a little bit greater look at what we could do here in this buffer. Again, it's conceptual, but what we would strive to achieve in the final design. And I think a couple important things that we want to point out, in addition to the separation of the parking that we're providing, almost 45 or a little over 45 feet from the edge of Robinson Road in this area, we have about, 15 feet or 10 feet or so from the edge of pavement to the right of way, where we're not planning on touching anything. The existing stone wall will remain, trees within that area would remain. We need to take a little bit greater inventory of what trees and vegetation are there, so we keep the desirables. But then beyond that, we're providing 30 feet on our site, which would be densely buffered. And that's what I've tried to demonstrate with this plan. Would be looking at a mixture of deciduous trees and evergreen trees. So you get a year-round screen without making kind of a monoculture of the vegetation there. We'd be having a 6-foot screen fence along this area, which would again provide the year-round screen, but also help contain any other activities or maybe blowing trash or something like that hasn't been policed yet on our site. So it doesn't get over to Robinson Road. And then we're also, the stone wall, this is the existing stone wall. It stops here and then starts again here, basically where the current 25 Robinson Road house and driveway are. So we'd propose to continue that stone wall to make that connection. So it's just a continuous wall along this whole Robinson Road frontage. I also developed a couple sections here looking at some key points. The first one down here, I'm calling section AA. This is the closest point of pavement to Robinson Road. And again, we're 31 feet from the Robinson Road pavement edge. We would maintain the existing stone wall. And then once we got onto our property, start to create a little bit of a berm. This is very slight. It's about a 4-to-1 slope. It's a rise of about 2 feet and then come back down into our site. And then we would have plantings on either side of the screen fence, which you see here at the top of the berm. Moving up the site, this is more where the parking lot is. Again, maintaining that existing stone wall, creating a little bit higher berm here. We have a little bit more room, so we'd maintain that 4-to-1 slope, create about a 3-foot berm, and again, have the plantings on either side. And here I'm demonstrating, we'll have evergreens and then switch to deciduous and evergreens. I'm showing we're predominantly evergreens for that year round, but that's something we can work through with the final design. And then the last section I have, which is into the existing 25 Robinson Road building home, we're showing the new stone wall. That would be a continuation of the existing stone walls, the 3-foot berm with the screen fence, and the plantings on either side. In this line right here, this is the location of the existing building. So we're pulling that back, pulling any kind of development or anything like that, with the parking back about 9 feet. And in this area, the distance from the edge of pavement to the new parking is over 45 feet. So we think with the room that we've provided, we'll be able to provide a very dense screen, and we'll be paying close attention to the final design of those plantings to create something that's not only a screen, but also is aesthetically pleasing to the neighbors on the other side. I think with that, I'll turn it back to you, Mark, or is Dan on?
I think that's great. If Mr. Chairman, if you indulge us, I was just going to maybe have Dan Barton, our architect with Mogul, speak briefly, just to give you a sense of the thought and attention that's been putting to making sure that we are consistent with the architectural vision, spirit, if you would, of the code. But
you're going to talk a little bit about the other buildings as well, is that?
Well, yeah, he had some visuals that I thought might be helpful to just share. Yeah.
That would be great. Thank you. Then we'll open up the questions.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mark. Can you hear me all adequately? Thanks so much. For the record, also, Dan Barton, Mogul Architects in Harvard. A pleasure to be with everyone again this evening. And I've had the distinct pleasure of working on this project and the vision for this property for a really wonderful, vibrant, mixed-use development for the last 4 years. So it's great that we're back to talking about not only the bank branch, but its larger vision for the overall property. I'd like to share this evening some of the vision for the overall property, but much like what Mark and Sean were talking about a moment ago, it's still a concept plan. It's nothing final. And there are a lot of things that are moving parts that are going to be tweaked and refined as the overall site plan comes together. But the images that we'll look at, which some of you may have seen in the past, really do help to explain how the bank's vision for this property is completely consistent with the town's vision and goals for creating the Village Common District. And that's something that's intended to be pedestrian, vibrant, and friendly, wide sidewalks, landscape, outdoor plazas, buildings that hold to an edge, but aren't so stagnant that they're all one continuous edge. They move in and out. They have porches, they have gazebos, etc. So if I could, I'm assuming, Maren, I'm able to share my screen?
Yes.
Okay, let's see if this works. Can everyone see this image up on the screen?
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, fantastic. So just as a place to start, the bank branch that was presented to the planning board in the application back in March started off with some elevation drawings along with all the site plans and some renderings that went along with it three-dimensionally. But just to remind the board, and if there are any new board members that are present tonight or anyone else joining and seeing this for the first time, the vision for the bank had always been to create a building that was very much human scale, that was evocative of a New England barn, but reimagined with a bit of a newer design aesthetic, always using appropriate local materials. It's wood, different types of wood siding, shingled roof, perhaps some metal roof in a few areas, always keeping the scale very much down to a human scale, and in keeping with the guidelines and aspirations of the form-based code, also making sure that there are large enough glass areas, the buildings feel welcoming and a part of the overall street environment and the pedestrian environment that they front upon. The bank itself was a rather small building. It's about 3,000 total square feet, and in much the scale and character of, as I said, a house or a barn. And it was intentionally sited at that triangular site between Robinson and Great Road so that the building could follow the parallel line of Robinson and diagonally look right towards the town common, and then be seen from all directions coming to and from Great Road. As we presented this original project back in March, the bank building had sat on the site as I just described, and we looked at it from different views. This is looking from the common heading towards, heading up Great Road, coming up a little bit higher to see that we were creating a front yard in front of the bank. As we were approaching from the other side of Great Road, you can now begin to see how the gallery or the framework in the front of the building sets that glass back from the front facade. It's not right underneath the gable. And there was an entrance to the bank also fronting right on Great Road. This image does not show yet the screening, the landscape, the reorganized driveway that Sean was presenting a few moments ago. And once we continue to refine that site plan and understand exactly what that buffer looks like, then we'll update this rendering accordingly. As seen from Robinson Road, the bank, the vision of the bank had intentionally scaled down with a small shed roof at 1 story right along the residential neighborhood, with the bank building or the main volume of the building behind. Again, this whole view will be completely screened essentially from most of the Robinson Road neighborhood because of the berm, the landscape, the fence that Sean just walked us through. But coming to look at the overall development, I'll now switch to some of the images that some of you may have seen a long time ago. But as you go beyond Northern Banks Branch, we envisioned this really wonderful environment of buildings that had a contextual relationship, an iconic relationship to New England type buildings, like a barn, a small retail building, residential type buildings, but have some variation, not have them all look the same, but have a development that, while it's all being created at once and envisioned at once, is not just the same building footprint and same building style repeated over and over again. So in this image, as you look along Great Road, we had imagined that there could be a wonderful natural food store that could be in a building that is evocative of a great big barn. Right next to it, there may be some retail space with some office or other uses up above, with porches and galleries and bay windows that pop out. As we look in the other direction, you can see that each of the buildings has a relationship directly to the pedestrian environment and the sidewalk, but they're not all exactly fronting at the same zone. This is something that we're going to continue to evolve with the design, because as was shown in the bank renderings that we presented in March, when we looked at just the bank property, we at that point widened out the sidewalk. We got rid of the stone wall that we had along the roadway. We changed a little bit of the relationship the bank had to Great Road to make sure it was consistent with the guidelines and vision of the form-based code. we'll be doing the same thing with these other buildings as we go along. And, a while back, this was, one earlier concept that was similar for the bank. It had brick, it had a different front yard. Again, it's evolved over time. Some of you may have seen back in April of 2019 when we had a mini presentation of this put together to help with the process for looking at and reviewing the form-based code. So I just flashed through these without walking through all of them, but it speaks to the vision from the get-go from the bank was to make sure that what was developed here was going to actualize the goals and character that's talked about in the form-based code. And buildings having a relationship to a pedestrian environment, parking is out in the back, using landscape that's appropriate and native, making sure that lighting is at a human scale and is adequate for safety, but not overly illuminating sites. And all of these things are going to be continued to be studied and looked at very carefully in the context of the overall development. And while the bank is being produced, but it's good to remember that as we're focusing in on just a bank branch in some of the earlier meetings, that it's all part of this larger vision, which has outdoor gathering spaces and a connection so that from building to building or from this site to other sites or the relationship that it has to the corridor of Great Road, that all those things are being considered in a thoughtful way. So I could keep on going on about the vision, but I will stop there, Mark, and turn back to you.
Yeah, no, thanks, Dan. Appreciate that. And Mr. Chairman, I think that really concludes, what we wanted to present to you this evening, and happy to answer any questions or address any comments that you may have.
Thank you, Mark. I'm going to open it up to the board first. Some of the members on the board have seen this just for the first time. So now, and I commend you on showing us the holistic approach to the whole property after listening to what the residents had to say. Now we're looking at staying off Robinson Road and looking at the total parcel. I'll open it up to the board first where there's questions, and then I'll open up to the public. Anybody want to jump in first? Anna, you want to jump in?
So based off the total development, what are the thoughts about housing within the development?
So I'm not sure that we're quite there yet, Ann, in terms of the exact uses. It's not something that's being necessarily proposed right now, but that doesn't mean that it might not be incorporated on one of the upper floors, perhaps. But it's not something that we're kind of necessarily looking at right now. But we're not quite there in terms of the exact uses. That's really the answer.
Okay.
Is that it? Bartlett, do you have any? You're muted, Bartlett.
Unmute myself. Okay. This is Bartlett. I'm coming into this fairly new. I guess my first question is does it make sense with the resistance along Robinson Road to have the building sort of oriented parallel to Robinson Road? It seems to me it would make more sense to have it, continuing the Great Road line of buildings and making that more emphatic and more solid. I mean, does it?
I'm happy to respond to that if I could.
Okay, thanks.
It's a very uniquely shaped part of the property.
Correct.
And we felt as though the bank design itself is dynamic, and its siting should also be dynamic as a part of it. The building is mostly along the Great Road side of the site, but because it's also somewhat residential in terms of its scale and its character, it having a relationship to the farmhouse that's directly opposite it on Robinson also made sense for contextual development. So I think when you look at a site plan of the overall development, while it does have an edge that's parallel to Robinson, its relationship is really to the Great Road. And that turning of it is really just to create a bit of, of a dynamic element in the overall development, so that it's not just flat buildings all along the street, but that there's a little bit of variation.
No, you've successfully broken up the line of buildings along Great Road, and I think that's great. I think you're kind of losing the effect on Robinson if you take the building at 25 Robinson away. I think that that you're putting a big hole in Robinson Road row of houses there.
Yeah, there's already a pretty substantial gap between, there is effectively no building right at the end of Robinson right now where the bank's going, other than the.
If I can share my screen here, the existing building is up in this far corner.
Right.
So there's a large empty space right now.
Right.
And then there's another gap with a thick vegetation and some drainage swales and stuff in here. So I'm not sure that this home is as continuous along here as some of the others.
Yeah, we had hoped that the bank at the end was grounding not only the development along Great Road, but it also had an appropriate relationship to another roadway that comes off at an angle and has a wonderful historic farmhouse directly across the way.
Well, I'm going to have to think about it. Is there a reason that the bank has to be at the corner? Can the bank be another place on the site?
I think this has always been the concept, to have the bank located at the corner. The bank is, very much, values its relationship with the town of Littleton. It wants to be a bank for decades to come, and they feel like having it be a signature building at a corner like that makes a lot of sense. And the other thing too is, the bank by nature is not a busy use, right? I mean, it's not a use that generates a significant amount of traffic and, pedestrian activity. So I think having it on that corner also provides some benefit in that regard, in terms of it being a softer use.
And if I may add to that too, Mark, with the orientation of this building, it actually makes it a little bit easier to return the drive-through back into the site. If we squared it off here, it would be a lot more difficult and take a lot more space to bring it back into the site here. So this orientation actually helps with that and keeping any traffic off of Robinson Road.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that, Sean. And I was going to add, much like what you said, Mark, also that from the very first day we started talking about the overall development, the bank wanted to have a position that felt like it was an appropriate position, like a marquee with a relationship to the town green. And this corner parcel really does accomplish that.
Delisa, do you have anything you want to add, you want to talk about or add before I open up to the public?
No, I think I've said everything that I wanted to say last meeting. I don't have any concerns about the orientation of the bank. I like what I've seen in terms of the berms and all of the vegetation and the stone walls you're looking to add. I think that's a really nice buffer to Robinson Road. And I think it'll also reduce the amount of sound that travels to the neighborhood from Great Road. So no, I don't have any concerns at this point or anything else that I want to express.
Thank you. I too agree with Delisa. I think since we've seen this, Robinson, the putting the bank in that corner, that angle has always been cornerstone of this whole redevelopment. I think I think as you're going to come up from the lights, it's going to be spectacular to see that and all the other buildings behind it. I think it's just going to pop out at you. I think the bank has done a good job of listening to the residents of Robinson Road who want nothing on Robinson Road. I go back to the screening. I think you've done a great job of presenting something that we can work with to get more screening out there to protect the sound and the feel of the separation between the commercial component and the Robinson Road component. But I do think the bank, that triangle, the first time we saw it to me, that was a really good attempt to tie in what we're trying to do in the common. That triangular piece is an odd shape. Not a lot you can do. There's a stupid little greenhouse that's in there that hasn't worked for 40 years. We've had a bunch of little things, and this is really going to start that whole progression down the common. It starts with that triangle, so I think it's a great way to start.
Mark, I do have a question. I just thought of a question. What kind of, what will you do to reduce the amount of lighting at night or the impact of lights on the neighborhood? Because you're talking about a parking lot, and you obviously need to have the lighting. So I assume that there are some ways you can have it downcast and.
Yeah, no, exactly. And we'll be looking to, meet the minimum standards. We're not looking to light this up like a car dealership. Absolutely dark sky compliant, and downward facing lights. They can be shielded, so that the light fixture isn't seen from the Robinson Road area. And we'll look at different reduced heights, not necessarily 30-foot poles, but maybe something like a 15 or 18-foot pole, to really minimize that. So, it's a great question. That's absolutely going to be a priority as part of the lighting design is the folks on Robinson.
Yeah, no, and I would just add to that, Sean, you brought it up, reducing vertical height and sometimes having a little bit more to a human scale helps with the full cutoff. But what we also find is that we can do pedestrian level lightways on the major pathways that are being used by pedestrians, and then just that minimal level of ambient light just for safety in parking areas. And we've had great success with that in terms of designing, in villages and town centers and what have you. And I would also add that the color temperature of the lighting is just as important as the intensity of the lighting, and not having it, a bluish tint to it, but to get a little bit more warmth.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I know Ann is concerned about a mixed use up there, maybe some housing. I know the bank has to kind of wade through that and see if it makes sense to put housing above some of the properties that you're looking to redevelop. I think for right now, we've all got a chance, I need a drink of water, to see it. I'd like to open it up to the public. If there's anybody has their hand raised. I'm assuming that you're going to go forward and start doing calculations, formal calculations. I know these are conceptual plans now, but you're going to, as we progress, you're going to start giving us plans we can send out to engineering. We can start narrowing down what exactly we're looking at.
Yeah, it's a bit of a chicken and the egg, right? So, I mean, obviously we don't want to do final plans necessarily until, we know that the zoning would actually, allow for this. But, I think we are going to continue to evolve the design and look into the details of it. But I'm not sure we're going to have, finally designed engineered drawings or anything. But until the town makes a determination as to whether they feel it makes sense. So,
okay, all right. So, I'm going to open up to the public for a little bit, and then we'll circle back. Maren, You've,
Yeah, at the moment, there are two people with hands raised. First, Marco Borba.
Hi, good evening. It's Marco Borba, 29 Robinson Road. I appreciate the time to speak. There are a few things I want to comment on. First is, I'd like to say how much I appreciate that at the last meeting, most of the comments that we discussed as it pertained to 25 Robinson Road went basically ignored. And as you look at Robinson Road, with 25 Robinson removed, that's 50% of the frontage on one side of our road. That is essentially a void, as Mr. Bartlett pointed out. I can understand the idea of showing the overall vision, but it's at the expense of this neighborhood. I bought this, the 29 Robinson Road is the second home that I've purchased on Robinson Road. I made the investment in Littleton many years ago at 32 Robinson Road, was sold on the town at that time, but was more sold in our neighborhood, that I made a reinvestment in purchasing a second home on this road. So I think it's a shame that the sentiment, as what it seems from the board, is that we are accepting the essential disruption of what has been an amazing community because we want to make a building be dynamic at the end of the road, and because we are unwilling to look at the orientation because it's dynamic and it switches things up. So I'm just a bit disappointed. We had shared, or I won't say we, I had shared a possible compromise at the last meeting that we could have potentially found a solution to allow the road, the driveway, the drive-through to turn back into the property, but was unmet with any attempt at trying to figure that out. Nor was there any outreach to any of us in the town, in the neighborhood, to discuss it. And I also think it's really disappointing that there was an ask of the board to try to figure out the parcel at 25 Robinson that may have allowed for a turn, but also included a house on there. And again, it wasn't even attempted. So I think it's clear to me that the intentions of most of the board is to fulfill the vision of the common, even if it's at the expense of residents of Littleton. And I think it's disappointing.
Thank you. The next commenter, Sandra Casale. You'll want to unmute yourself.
Yes, hello, good evening. Our property is adjacent to the bank property. And the fact that they're putting a development up is bittersweet. In that, I mean that literally. The property the bank now owns has been unkept. And it's so bad. It's all invasives. Every year there's another tree that is killed off from bittersweet and wild grapes. We've even had one of the dead trees come down on our property. And it's really bad. So seeing that go away would be pleasurable for me. However, we had a bad experience when we moved in because we were told that the land behind us was unbuildable because it was contaminated from a previous gas station. Well, a year later, they started building the DCU. And they wouldn't do anything to shield us from the building until AT&T came through to give them data lines. And so we had a condition, if they were going to come through our property, then they needed to put up a fence. Well, that wasn't really the best solution because now the bank is for sale. It's been for sale for like 5 years now. And the fence is falling apart. It's vinyl. It's not pretty. And now you're talking about on the other side along Robinson Road, putting up pines and alternating deciduous trees. But on my side, all I see are pine trees and a screen fence. And I don't know what screen fence means to you. it's hopefully you're not thinking about a vinyl fence like the one we have in our backyard, which is very ugly and not maintained. So I want to know a couple things, like, are you planning on just putting pines there? And what are you considering a mature tree? Because if they aren't really mature trees, they're not going to block anything from our property.
Sean, can you address that? What your screening for the back part of the property is considered? What are you considering?
Yeah, so we could certainly, we'd be more than happy to meet with Ms. Caselli and talk about that and maybe find out some things that she'd like to see there. But we can certainly, yes, we're just showing just the evergreens right now in concept, but that can be a mixture of the deciduous and evergreens. As far as the fencing goes, it could be a cedar fence. Again, those are the details we haven't completely zeroed in on, but absolutely would be willing to work with her, meet with her to discuss that and what would work for her.
Thank you, Sean. Sandra, are you still there? Or did we lose her, Maren? I guess we lost her. Maren, are you there? Yeah.
I'm here. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't see any other hands raised.
Okay.
Not paying. Actually, Lauren Borba.
Hi. Can you guys hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. One question that I had, I don't know if it has been yet, is with all of this development, what is the plan for the school bus and the school bus kind of pickup? As you probably know very well at this point, there's a lot of school age kids on this street, hence a lot of the concern, of course, over the development. And it really concerns me from a safety perspective with this significant development and seeing all of that parking. You know, that a bus stop at the end of the street would pose significant safety concern. So wondering what the plan is from the board on how that will be addressed.
So Mark, if I may, the school department decides on the location of the school bus stops based on the ages of the students that need to be serviced in any particular neighborhood. It's not something that the planning board weighs in on. It's all a school department and they work with the police department on that type of safety issue.
Okay. I guess I want to point out that there's a significant safety concern, of course, for little kids being around a significant development like this. And then I just had one other comment. I sent in a letter today, not sure, you know, because of last minute notice, if you were able to read it, but essentially just want to point out that, you know, as my husband actually commented, that if you were the board to support the conversion of 25 Robinson Road into commercially zoned, i.e. a parking lot, that you are essentially supporting 50% of the linear side of our street to become commercially zoned. So we have a highly residential neighborhood that you will be supporting turned commercial. So as you think about your decision, would love for you to keep that in mind as you think about your own street and your own backyard. And if there's something that you would not do in your own backyard, I ask that you don't do that in mine.
Thank you, Mr. Borba. I can't bring up the, I don't know if we can get a map up, if someone can put a map up.
And I use the town's assessor's website to calculate that 50%. So it was town-based.
I'm trying to, 60 years ago when we zoned the common residential and commercial, we went by property owners. And the property that we're talking about, the one that's concerning you the most, which is Triangle, is only 109 feet deep. I bring this up every meeting, yet the property right next to it is 390 feet deep. And that's where the issue comes in with 25 Robinson Road. If it had been laid out like it should have been laid out 60 years ago, 25 Robinson Road would have been a commercial endeavor, part of the common. The fact that it's only 109 feet deep, and yet the parcel right next to it is over 300 feet. We're just trying to straighten out that line a little bit where it intersects Robinson Road to give the development in front of it a chance to put something more vibrant than a dead piece of property that had a greenhouse on it that didn't make it, that has a barber shop and a small little building there that's barely making it. We're trying to revitalize the common, and in order to do that, you have to revitalize the buildings that there it is right there. Between lot 22 and lot 23, it's 109 feet right there. The piece next to it, that's business, you go all the way to the back, that's over 300 feet from there. If you cut it straight across from there over to Robinson Road, which is what it should have been done 60 years ago, then the buildings that are in front of it could have been a little more than a small little barber shop and a small little greenhouse that obviously nobody's been in it in 5 years. We're just trying to make the business part of Great Road a little more viable so that you can have other things in there than the small little barber shop. That's all that could fit on lot 23.
Yeah, no, I understand that. And I, thank you for that explanation. I guess, my mind goes to the fact that 60 years ago, they made that decision to prioritize the residents and not prioritize business. But I think we're in a different environment today.
They did it by parcel, and that was the mistake they made back then. They should look at that.
Or it was great for the residents, but I don't want to go back and forth on that. Just, it is what it is today.
Years ago,
And again, a parking lot, I don't think is more vibrant than a single family home on a residential road, but that is.
So there is one more person with the hand raised for comments. Michael Flanagan.
Yep, Mike Flanagan, 26 Robinson Road. So echoing Sandra, Lauren, Marco, their thoughts, opposing the curb cuts or any rezoning on Robinson Road. But I was wondering if Sean could talk to, what the plan would be for two driveways onto the site we're talking about, onto Great Road. What that plan looks like, or if that's been drafted out. And is that what we're voting on here, what we're talking about? Because, I think we've had a discussion about rezoning 25 Robinson Road back in February 2020. The most recent discussion is about curb cuts. Why hasn't there been a curb cut drawing on and off Great Road for the bank?
There are two curb. Do you want to bring up your plan again, Sean? And
well, on the Great Road.
The proposed openings are on Great Road. Can you show us that?
Yes.
And the reason is because Robinson Road didn't want the original plan, which had the curb cuts onto Robinson Road. So
there you go.
And currently there's several curb cuts. There's one large curb cut here for the greenhouse. There's a separate curb cut here, and then it opens up here. A fourth curb cut here, a fifth here, and a sixth here. So we'd be consolidating that just to two curb cuts on either side of the development.
I guess what I'm trying to say is for cars. So
Yes.
when you have the bank and there's no car, the cars can't come out onto Robinson Road, and 25 Robinson Road is not rezoned. What does that driveway look like? Has that been drawn out? And I'm wondering why that's not a plan that's been out there yet, presented out to the group.
No, and I think if I'm understanding your question, no, there isn't a master plan build out for this site that we've done with not having the 25 Robinson Road. It makes the site very difficult to do anything.
Yeah, and that's where my comment comes from, is that I've been following this. Obviously, I live across the street from that 26 Robinson Road. We voted on this. I thought the planning board voted on this in February 2020 that shouldn't be rezoned. Why is the group here still planning around that?
Because Robinson Road residents didn't want the exit onto Robinson Road. So this is the only way we can make that happen, or not have the exit onto Robinson Road.
That's right.
And what
It
we
must be a
voted
way of
on-
having a bank and not have an exit on Robinson Road.
What we voted on in 2020 was not to include that parcel in part of the form-based coding. The thought at the time was that we wanted to get form-based coding approved first, and we didn't want to dilute it by talking about other parcels other than what was already zoned business in the common. That's what we're talking. That's what happened when we didn't add it. It should have been, in hindsight, it should have been added back when we did the form-based coding and the overlay district. It should have been added then, because it's always been the understanding that if we're going to revitalize the common, that we needed more space behind those buildings. I go back to the 109 feet. It's impossible to do anything with that one little corner lot if it's only 109 feet off the road. And you need sewer to go with all of this too. We're talking about helping to jumpstart sewer in the common, helping to revitalize the common. And this is the first step towards doing that. So we have talked about it. We have thought about it at great length for a couple of years now. And we're talking about a park. We're talking about 45 parking spaces. If you look at what's in residential right now, it's about 45 parking spaces that have to go into a residential component that will be well screened in order to put all these brand new buildings to revitalize the common. So we're not talking about ruining a neighborhood. We're talking about 45 parking spaces. That's what we're talking about. And we're hoping that by the time we get through this process, it won't be 45 spaces. By the time they figure out what they're going to do upstairs and how many spaces they need, the hope from the board is that it might be less than that. Maybe it's 20 spaces is all they need. Who knows? But right now, they're making sure that they have adequate parking to build buildings A, B, C, D, and E and have parking for it. So that's why they're overshooting what they need to make sure they can build those 4 buildings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 buildings. But the hope is that they won't need that much parking. It won't be mostly on 25 Robinson Road. But we've done everything we can to keep the traffic off of Robinson Road, to minimize the curb cuts, to keep the curb cuts away from where the kids meet the school bus. There's only going to be 2 curb cuts, not 6. And the buildings will be beautiful, and it'll be the cornerstone of coming into the common. And like I said, I keep looking at it. You see that plan in front of you. See where it's 109 feet, where the parcel right next to it is over 300 feet. If that parcel had been straight across like it should have been, if the design was done properly, then we wouldn't even be having this discussion. But that was what happened 60 years ago, trying to fix something to get buildings that are more than just a barbershop, just a small little subway, just a small little greenhouse that there's been a million different of an antique shop. We want a little more in town than an antique shop, subway, and a barbershop. We want to revitalize the common, and this is the first step to do it. And it has been something we've been talking about for the past couple of years. This is not new. Anyway, anyone else on the board have anything else to add?
Yes.
What, Anna?
Yep. So, can we take the plan down, please? Thank you. So, Mark, I have to say that I'm really disappointed that Northern Bank hasn't heard the concern for tearing down the house to build a parking lot. And then to learn again that you currently have no plans to replace the housing. I think it just shows disregard for our town's need for housing. So if the bank is to succeed in tearing down 25 Robinson Road, I would expect that some form of housing needs to be put into the development overall to replace the housing that's going to be torn down. I think that's only right. I'm also disappointed that the bank didn't hear the neighbors who were willing to concede a small portion of the 25 Robinson Road property in an effort to get to what is good for the town, which is the development that you're proposing. And I would like the residents to know that I have asked the bank folks to reach out to you as residents. And it's disheartening to hear that they haven't done that either. So at this point, I just don't know where to come out on this.
Well, if I could, Mr. Chairman, we don't have the final mix of uses set yet in terms of what they would be. I mean, we know what we maybe like to have. I mean, you saw like a natural food store. I mean, a residential right above a restaurant might not be the right fit for a particular building. We're not saying no, that there wouldn't be residential, but we're not quite there yet in terms of what that actual ultimate mix is going to be. And as it relates to 25 Robinson, respectfully, you know, we feel that we can. The last thing Northern Bank wants to do is be a bad neighbor and develop something where it's going to be acrimonious with the residents behind there. You know, I don't think just keeping that house at the corner is going to necessarily be the panacea to resolve those issues when we can have a very significant buffer, berming, fencing, mature vegetation, and you know, you heard about the commitment to provide, you know, the lowest lighting possible. You know, this isn't going to be, you know, lit up like a Home Depot or a Fenway Park. I mean, it's going to be, you know, as minimally intrusive as possible to provide the best balance. And I guess that's where, you know, we really feel that, you know, this is we're striking the right balance, and you know, we're not having access out onto Robinson, and we're, I think, as the chairman said, I mean, could there be less parking? Perhaps there could be. We're just not quite there yet in terms of what the final design is.
Mark, can I say something?
Sure.
I think I disagree with what Ms. Houston has said. I think that the bank has done quite a bit in listening to the residents. I think all of the berms, the plantings, et cetera, show that. There was also, if we go back, we must remember that originally Robinson Road that house was going to remain there. But because the residents did not want an exit onto Robinson Road, that's why we're now looking at Plan B. So it's one or the other. You know, I just feel like we're going round in circles here.
Yeah, I have to agree with Delisa. I think the bank had brought in 3 different scenarios. The residents on Robinson Road have been adamant about any traffic going out on Robinson Road. And if they don't want anything to go on Robinson Road, then the house has to go. I think I agree with you, Delise. You can't have them both.
Right. And the other thing too is this is all part of the master plan. This is exactly what we wanted. This is commercially zoned property. It's not residential property. So something is going to go in there. And I think what the bank has proposed is marvelous. I think it will be a huge improvement to anything that Littleton currently has.
And I don't disagree. It will be a huge improvement. But the bottom line to it is that the town is losing a residential asset. So what are we going to do to be able to replace
Wait a second, you know, I'll get it. We're losing one house, Anna.
Yeah.
One house. And what are we getting in regards to, we're getting rid of a small little unit building that didn't work, that haven't worked in the common, that have been basically empty, underutilized for the past 40 years. So one house, we have plenty of houses in Littleton. We have more and more houses coming into Littleton. Single family houses in Littleton where every day, you know, people come by and want to build more and more. That's not a bad trade-off. The fact that people aren't going to go down Robinson Road if we knock that house down, that's something that the residents of Robinson Road wanted, and that's what the bank is proposing. Where, you know, you get to a point where, you know, enough is enough. Let's move forward with this. This is the revitalization of the common. This is what you wanted with form-based coding.
Absolutely. I don't
Let's start using form, but to rail about one house, you're upset.
What I'm asking for is that the bank confirm for us that they are going to have some residential units in their development.
Not at that point.
Well, if we don't get that, then when are we going to get that confirmation?
The bank has to make a business decision whether and just like Mr. Vaughn said, does it make sense to put housing above a restaurant? Maybe it doesn't. Maybe there's someplace else it can go. They're still inconceptual. They haven't done drainage. They don't know how big the buildings are actually going to be, where the parking is going to be, and how much parking they're really going to need. They need an answer from us to keep moving the ball forward, moving the line along. And that's what they're trying to get from us. And I'm trying to tell them that, you know, I understand where the residents of Robinson Road are going to, they can't have it both ways. You can't have a house and not have Robinson Road. You got access on the Robinson Road. You have to have one or the other. And that's where the bank is right now. It's a crossroad. It wants an answer from us which way to go. And I say, it's more important to knock the house down, give them the buffering that they want, give them an area that's you won't even know that the house wasn't even there. It's all overgrown. It's been in disarray. It'll be a lot better. We get a better product out of it. If we get some housing out of it, great. But let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater because one house is going to come down and maybe there's going to be housing and maybe there's not. The process, what they're proposing before us, is the revitalization of the common. We shouldn't lose the sight of that.
Right.
I'm not losing sight of that. I'm simply saying that there needs to be some residential in the development. And when are we going to hear about that? So that's what I'm asking for.
And I have to back Anna up on that. I think the bank can make a commitment to include some housing in that array of A, B, C, D, E buildings. And I am not convinced that it's a either or of because there's no exit onto Robinson Road, that the house at 25 has to be demolished. I'm not convinced that those are the only choices. I think that it's possible with some compromise on the property lines to get both, to keep the house and to not have the exit onto Robinson Road. And I would like the proponents to look at that.
Okay, well, you see where the parking is. The parking is right where the house is. You're going to lose green space. If you decide to keep the house and squish all the green space, you're going to have a house there that nobody's probably going to live in, that'll have no buffering around all its neighbors, and the parking will be right up to the edge of it. You want to see a conceptual that shows the house still there and what parking they have to put in there? You're not going to, I don't want to speak for Sean and for Dan, but I don't think you're going to be happy with what you'd see there. They're trying to maximize the effect of buffering the parking lot from the residents, and that's at the cost of taking the house down. That's what they're trying to do. I don't think you can have them both. If you don't want people to come out on Robinson Road, something has to give. We can ask them to show us a plan that shows it keeping Robinson Road, but I don't think anyone's going to be happy with keeping the house 26 Robinson, keeping 25 Robinson Road, keeping it. I don't think you're going to be happy because you're going to get no buffering by the time you're done. All the parking's going to have to be behind it, and you're not going to get any buffering for it. So you want to see what that would look like, but I just want to move forward. I think direction from us.
All right. Overall, I like the plan. I think it's great that they're putting those buildings there. I just want a commitment for some housing, and I think that if they're talking about retail and food shops and whatever, they can make a commitment to include some housing. I mean, it's just part of the concept that housing should be there. That was part of the master plan, to have housing there.
So could they put in, Mr. Vaughn, could you put in commit to one apartment to replace the one house that is being taken down? I know.
I don't know we can make a commitment to anything, just like we can't make a commitment to, natural food store necessarily going in, right? I mean, we're trying to show conceptually what that mix would be. And a lot of this is market driven as well, in terms of, what's the demand for those types of uses. And as much as we could say, we're going to provide 2 or 3 residential units, I mean, those could be converted to office if there's not a demand for that over time. So we're just trying to, look, I mean, we hear what you're saying on the residential. I'll certainly, let that know that for at least 2 board members, that's, something that, they'd like to see ultimately in terms of what the mix of uses are, but I'm not sure I can make a commitment right now, nor could the bank. But
Mr. Vaughn, can I ask you a question? The town of Littleton owns a piece of property on Robinson Road across the street from this. It's an old farmhouse that's falling apart, that the town is trying to revitalize, try to put housing in there. Maybe that's something that the bank could look at as a part of this project to help the town take the housing that was on 25 Robinson Road and put it into the old, I forget what they call the house, but maybe we could look at something like that as a holistic approach to this whole property. Would that be something you might want to take a look at?
Sure, I'd be happy to bring that up. Just so I understand, which property is it across Robinson?
It's
number 12.
Okay.
12 Robinson is a farmhouse that the town owns. It was dilapidated, falling apart, was going to be knocked down. Town bought it. And maybe this makes sense. Rather than try to save 25 Robinson Road, we could do something to try to save 12 Robinson Road. So we still have housing there, maybe get a couple of units in there, and at least we get some sort of commitment that we're going to try to get some sort of housing out there and try to revitalize the area of Robinson Road a little better. Just something to throw out there. Like I said,
No, I'm be happy to raise that with the bank. So
okay, that would be great. Thank you. So anybody, the board have anything else, or, because I'd like to tell the bank and the board we have another meeting in August. I'd like to maybe try to get some firmer plans for the buildings. I know you're not ready to do drainage or anything else like that. Maybe we can have a meeting where we could all meet with the residents and talk about screening. Would that help move this along? I'm more than happy to schedule something that with Sean and all the residents that want to be out there to talk about the different screening and maybe walk the property so that we can, so everybody feels a little more comfortable about what's going to be out there. If that's what it takes to keep keep everything going and keep people, at least see what the intent is of the bank.
I'd be happy to walk the site.
That's a good idea. I think too, to talk about the type of fencing you anticipate using. I think that's a good idea, Mark.
Mark, we could do that with maybe Sean or Dan, or probably Sean more than anyone else. Maybe we set up a meeting and have everyone who wants to be there and talk about where their property is and what kind of screening they can, and maybe you could bring out the visuals that you did so they can get a look. We can look through the property and see what they can expect to see as from a screening standpoint. And then see who wants to talk about it. Could we set something up for that?
Yeah, happy to schedule that.
Is that okay with you, Mark?
yeah, no, I think that we could accommodate that, Mr. Chairman. Yep.
So why don't Sean get back with Marin and we'll post it when we can all meet with the residents out there within the next couple of weeks, so that the lady who doesn't know what, so that's not all evergreens out there, and we can see hers, we can see all the lot lines and the conceptuals and what we could possibly do out there.
Sounds great.
Okay.
Okay, so as a site visit, I just need to post it as a site visit. Wouldn't be any double operations on the public hearing process during that visit, but.
No, just the site visit. But so the neighbors are, so to get to Anna's point, to make sure that the bank is out there, they can hear the concerns of the neighbors, and we facilitate that. If they have any questions or concerns, we can address it there on a site walk. Does the board want to do that? Anna, would you be interested in doing a site walk?
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Bartlett?
Yes, indeed.
Lisa?
Yep.
Okay. So why don't you put a date out, Marin, for the next couple of weeks, and make sure we're all there some afternoon. How's that? Thursday or Wednesday, Thursday, Friday afternoon, something like that. Okay. Do you want to be on the schedule for August? I would assume you do.
Yeah, do you know the date, Mr. Chairman, of the meeting?
Actually, it's July 28th, right?
Yeah, Wednesday, July 28th is the next planning board meeting.
So let's see if we can schedule our walk before the 28th, Marin. So.
Right, no, I think that makes sense, so.
And Mark, just so you know, I'm out of town on the 28th if you think that you're gonna need me.
Well, why don't we keep the date, and we can see during the site visit, as long as you're there, Sean. I think that might be, more important in terms of being present for that, and then we can decide on the 28th.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so you'll circle back with us with the date.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and so, meeting of the 28th, what time? I presume that we're continuing this public hearing, continue it to perhaps 7:15
Yeah,
that evening.
sure.
And at that meeting, Wednesday, July 28th, we'll be in room 103 of the town offices.
Yeah, so we'll actually be live,
Mhm.
so to speak. Great. Anything else? Board good? We'll continue this till 7:15 on July 28th. And we'll get back to you as to a date when we can all meet out there.
Great. I appreciate all your time and thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Stay well.
Okay, we have 8:30.
We've got the A&R for 9 Air Road. I'm not sure who's here to present that.
All right. Is anybody here?
Raise your hand.
Well, I don't see anybody that's here to represent the applicant for 9 Air Road. Was pointed out to me that the frontage for lot number 4 is less than 150 feet.
Mr. Chair, I move that we not have this discussion because they're not even here.
Yeah, no, I,
The problem with not having an A&R discussion is that the planning board has 21 days from the application to make a decision on it. If no decision is rendered, then it's automatically approved.
yeah, we should talk about it. I don't think the current conditions of the property warrant being able to adequately address that neck that goes up to the back lot. We can't, it's a bowl. It's 300, that neck is 300 feet long. It's going from street level, 50 feet up in the air. There's no way it can, as an A&R, you're supposed to be able to access your lot. There's no way you can access that lot. So if we're not going to do anything about it, I think we should at least turn it down. Let them come back at a later time when they show us calculations as to how they're going to access not only that lot but all the lots. The slopes over there now, and you can't access any of the lots there. So I think just show us something like that. So rather than give it to them by the 21 days, I think we should turn it down and make them come back when they can show us how they're going to access all the lots.
And they have the proper frontage for the lot 4.
Yeah, I would agree with all of that. Yeah.
Lisa, what do you think?
Yep.
Bartlett?
Yes.
Okay, so I will entertain a motion to deny the A&R lot.
So moved.
Second? All those in favor? Aye. Anna?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Lisa?
Aye.
And Bartlett?
Aye.
Okay, so we'll let them come back when they're ready to show us grading plans and everything else.
And meeting zoning.
And meeting the zoning required.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I have a question. There wasn't an application with this. So whenever they return, they need an
Right.
Right.
Yeah, there was an application finally provided to this office, just no time to get it posted.
Yeah. 11th hour doesn't work. Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Are we good? Can we adjourn? Is anything else, Maureen?
I'm good, thank you very much.
We can adjourn our Zoom meetings hopefully forever.
Well, I'm kind of gonna miss this. You guys, there was a car carrier that just went by. It was huge. I couldn't turn. It's the biggest thing that comes through the canal. And I couldn't, we're in the middle of a heated debate. I couldn't turn and show it to you, but it's pretty awesome.
Are we going to have public access Zoom? Are we going to have hybrid meetings or all public, or us being there and Zoom people coming in, or what are we thinking?
Board will be in person, public will be welcome at the meetings. Public will have access to the meetings on LCTV. Whether or not we're going to try to also add the Zoom hybrid on top of that, it's not clear yet. It can get difficult, especially when engineers are showing plans to the board, not necessarily very well seen by anybody that Zooms in.
Okay.
Okay. So we don't know yet then. So if Delise is in Colorado, can she Zoom in? Are we gonna be able to do that?
If we have it set up well in advance, yes.
Can she just call in? Would that work?
You know what, Mark? How are you going to smoke a cigar and sit by the canal?
Well, that's the problem now. It's getting nice out. I was hoping the pandemic would last till September. I had to drive down early just to be here and be set up and everything else like that and look at the ocean. It was pouring out down here, by the way. I don't know if it rained up there. It was buckets. Yeah. So, yeah, I know I'm going to have to rough it. You guys should feel bad for me. I'm going to have to be normal, not smoke.
I know.
Iced tea and have to sit there and get yelled at face to face now.
But on the other hand, we could go out for drinks maybe afterward.
We should be doing that.
And actually meet our new board member.
Yeah, Bartlett has to buy the first round. You do that.
Live on TV.
I don't know if we are or not anymore. Nobody.
We are.
All right, I gotta go.
All right, yeah, everybody does. All right, so we're on for the 28th.
28th. And I've
Set up a
you check in the meanwhile.
meeting with the residents on Robinson Road, and the bank, and let us know when it's going to float it by us, and let's pick a date.
Yep, sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I so move.
All
All those
right,
in favor? Aye.
second, aye. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Yes.
All right.